All right. Thank you very much for taking the time to jump on this call with me. I really appreciate it. And the reason why I wanted to reach out to you was that awesome testimonial you shared in the Facebook group. You said, all right, here's my honest review. And I was kind of worried when I saw it because I was like, okay, I'm not sure what we're going to get. But going through and reading everything, like it blew me away. One, how honest it was. But two, you can almost like feel your just like energy coming through the post. So I just really appreciate this. When I read that, I knew I wanted to talk to you in person just to kind of build off your energy and get that get to hear it from you yourself. So thank you very much.
For sure, man.
Great. So I was doing the math based on your post, and you said a couple weeks. You've probably been using Hostage Tape for 2 or 3 weeks now. Is that correct?
About 2 weeks, thereabouts, give or take a couple of days, yeah.
Crazy. And even in that short amount of time, you're still able to see just the awesome benefits. That's really cool.
For sure.
What led you to start using Hostage Tape or to look for Hostage Tape? I know you said it popped up in a couple ads, but what was it that made you consider like, okay, I'm going to actually get this stuff?
The biggest thing, the biggest onus for it for me was my wife is actually expecting. We're expecting a child sometime in the fall. And, I had some issues sleeping on and off, and I have some on and off insomnia that I get it from my mom, and just had some issues really getting quality sleep. And that had been an issue for a while, but, okay, whatever, it is what it is, kind of write it off. But like I said, it was one of those things where the ad popped up. And the first time I saw it, I mean, honestly, I looked at it and said, you got to be kidding me. Who could possibly get a full night's sleep with their mouth taped up? That's like, even the first time I saw that ad, I was getting like choked up for air. I was like, there's no way. But I wrote it off and said, okay, whatever. But the way the algorithm works, hey, you clicked on it once, you get it here, you get it there, and every now and then it popped up and okay, whatever. But it was, like I said, it was a couple of weeks of just really terrible sleep, man. Waking up feeling tired, really wasn't getting any kind of long, consistent, restful sleep. And then the snoring, which has been like an on and off issue for me for years, was just getting to a point where it was getting pretty bad. I was keeping my wife up and she was starting to interrupt her sleep. And it was one of those things where like a couple of weeks of that went by and then the ad popped up again. And I was like, you know what? Let's give it a shot. Worst case scenario, it's bust, whatever, a couple bucks down the drain, but, better than nothing. At least I can say I tried it, and it's a potentially quick solution. And that was really kind of the onus to picking it up.
Right. Very cool. Hey, congratulations to you and your wife. That's exciting news. So that's awesome. And that's cool. That's kind of like that desperation, right? Just being like, hey, you know what, in your brain you're thinking this is crazy, but it's like, hey, you know what, I'm just going to give this a shot.
Sure.
Like you said, it's a pretty much a free trial for the first little bit. So it's like, all right, I'll give it a shot. I don't have much to lose here. So
exactly that.
So let's see how it works.
100%. And my mother was telling me like, oh, you should go in and get a sleep study. And I'm like, man, with my schedule being what it is, a working professional, I put in. Currently, thankfully, it's about 40 hours a week, but soon it could be much more than that. And it's kind of a big kind of nebulous schedule, isn't necessarily consistent. So that was going to definitely hamper that, the prospect of getting a sleep study done. The other thing was about insurance and money. And so, well, I don't know if it's going to be covered by my insurance. I don't know if we're able to carve out the time. And it's like, well, I know personally one of the biggest issues right now is my weight. Currently working on dropping that because I know that's exacerbating that problem a bit. So my thing is, if I'm going to be working towards that, and that's definitely a part of my life that I'm working on and getting that handled, what can I do in the interim that's going to try to mitigate those side effects as much as possible? So, knowing what the potentials were going to be, it's like there's no way I'm going to be able to fall asleep with a mouth guard in. I've tried using those strips before with mixed results. So I was kind of about that whole prospect. And then I saw this and said, well, you know what? Realistically, as a daily expenditure, not too bad. And if it works, hey, it works. And kind of get going from there.
Sweet. Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I like that thought process that you laid out for us there. So you go through all this thinking, sleep study, am I going to do it? finally decide to bite the bullet with Hostage Tape, click buy, and it shows up to your house, and then take us through that first week of using Hostage Tape and the benefits that you experienced from that.
Sure. The first couple of days was definitely like an acclimation process. I remember most notably the first night, waking up several times, kind of being a little bit short of breath. But thankfully, even to that end, it was kind of like awake and a couple of real deep, heavy nose breaths, and then right back to sleep. It wasn't a thing where like my anxiety was through the roof, or I was like, struggling to get air. It was just kind of getting used to that process. But even that first night, my wife actually noted, and I was like, "Hey, like, how did I sleep last night?" And she looked at me and went, "Dude, you were silent the whole night." I'm like,
So
"Really?"
awesome.
Okay, good to know. So, that first night, okay, well, all right, well, let's keep it going, keep it going. And every subsequent night, it was a little bit solid, well, more solid throughout the night, sleeping consistently throughout the night, not snoring, waking up feeling rested. Currently working a morning shift. I'm not a morning person. And I know a lot of people say that, oh, I'm not a morning person, but like I know that about myself, my circadian rhythm is actually downshifted. Like me and a certain percentage of the population, I'm just more alert and ready at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the morning. So when that alarm goes
Yeah.
off at 5:30, normally pretty rough to try to get up and get ready for work. But I was noticing even in that first week, especially after the first maybe 4 or 5 days, where just kind of like alarm gets up and boom, snap up and, oh, I feel good. Good night's rest. I feel ready. I'm just kind of ready to jump up and kind of hit the day, hit the ground running. So that's definitely been noticeable for me. A couple of people have remarked about hitting the REM cycle more consistently. That's kind of been
Right.
on and off for me. There's been at least more noticeably the last week and a half or so that I'm noticing that I'm hitting my REM cycle a little more consistently. In regards to if that really means you're getting deeper or better sleep, that's debatable, and that's a more there's a little more of an argument to be had there, one way or the other. But I have noticed that I have been getting kind of a more consistent sleep schedule that's hitting that REM cycle, that's allowing for greater rest, that I'm waking up feeling refreshed and generally feeling more well rested.
That's so awesome. That's so cool to hear. Like there's something about just waking up and just being like, man, like I'm just ready to start my day. There's no like groggily pulling yourself out of bed or just taking an hour to like go through your full routine and then finally dragging yourself to work. Right? When you can wake up and you're just like, hey, let's go.
For sure.
I slept great.
And knowing that
Like
I gotta hit
that's just so cool.
and knowing that I gotta hit the ground running as soon as I get into work, it's nice to know that I'm up and ready to go. That's definitely been a significant benefit that I've noticed over the last maybe a week or so.
That's super cool. You mentioned your REM sleep. Are you tracking your sleep? Are
That
you
I'm
using like
not
an app or something?
not
Or
not currently. I mean, really, it's more of an anecdotal thing of just, oh yeah, like I had a couple of dreams and I've been dreaming more consistently over the last week or so. To that end, so unfortunately, I don't have any kind of hard data for that, but I can say, at least personally, anecdotally, yeah, definitely getting into that kind of dream state, hitting that REM cycle at least a little more consistently than I had been in previous history.
yeah, yeah, that's really cool. It's funny, like you said, like it's like, okay, if you have the dreams, if you don't. For me, I noticed that when I use Hostage Tape, I'll have dreams, but I can't remember them as well. But when I don't use it, they're crazy dreams right before I wake up. And I don't know if you've read James Nestor's book, Breathe or not. That's the one he kind of gets into like all this like dream and all that sort of stuff. But he says basically that's your body saying like, shoot, we didn't sleep well enough. We're just going to flood you with dreams at the very end. So I know like I have like crazy wild ones right at the end and I wake up and you're almost like in a panic. But when I wear Hostage Tape, it's more like just like nice, peaceful dreams. You wake up, you're like, that was totally fine. That felt like it should feel. Whereas without it, it's almost like a nightmare kind of thing.
Interesting.
It's very strange the way it works. So you said the first night your wife was just like almost floored. She was like, it was silent. What is she thinking now? 2 weeks in, how does she feel?
Definitely, it's kind of the thing where we looked at each other and said, you know what? As crazy as we thought this was going to be, this might actually be working. Because even when I showed her that first ad and the first time I showed it, she had the same reaction I did. I'm like, what? People do what? Even talking to like my in-laws, and they were just like, "Wait, what do you mean? They cover them when they sleep? What do you mean?" I'm like, "Yeah." And I actually pulled out one and showed it to them,
Yeah.
and they were like, "Oh, huh, interesting." And I said, "Yeah, some people they used to do like the medical tape, and they use that. And here's this company that made this proprietary product that's kind of eliminating some of the guesswork and some of the other difficulties that people were having in the past. And it's I find that it's really working." "Oh yeah, what about your facial hair?" I said, "Really, it's not a problem. It generally stays on." And my wife was like, "Yeah, he wakes up in the morning, he's got to take it off, but in general, everything kind of works the way it's supposed to." Um, my parents both snore like banshees, and her parents as well. You can hear it in the middle of the night. It's just, hey, it happens, for whatever reason. And I have a deviated septum as well, so that's kind of been an
Right.
issue since I was a little kid. I bashed my nose really bad, so I've always kind of had breathing issues and a lot of congestion, nasal congestion, and just kind of difficulty nose breathing. But um, as I've been continually using the product, I really kind of got to a point where like, hey, this is actually starting to get a little more consistent. Just she's definitely noticed an improvement in my sleep. Um, she's noticed that I'm generally sleeping more peacefully throughout the night. I'm a rough sleeper, dog. I toss and I turn. I mean, you got to see if I'm sleeping on my bed sheets are like mangled by the time I get up in the morning. It's
Yeah.
rough. But one thing that's been helping that we've noticed, like I wake up and it's really not as bad. Yeah, like you weren't really tossing and turning as much as you normally did, and yeah, you weren't really thrashing around like you normally do at night. Um, so just knowing that I'm kind of in that place where I'm getting decent rest and the kind of sleep where I'm just kind of out and my body is resting, as opposed to this kind of tumultuous, nightly battle with the blankets because my body can't get comfortable and I'm not really hitting that rhythm. So she's definitely
Yeah.
noticed that as well. So that's been really, really cool.
Nice. That's really cool. That's yeah. I've similar thing, like smashed up my nose with a deviated septum, and I thought I was gonna have to have surgery. My wife was pushing me for years, like go in, get the surgery, but I looked into it and I don't know, surgery just kind of freaked me out. So I never did it. And then once I started mouth taping, it kind of just like everything changed. And now during the day, like I've noticed that I breathe through my nose almost all day now. It's just the default. Like after a year and a half of mouth taping, it's just my default to like breathe through my nose. It's gotten way easier. And looking into the science, they say like the nasal passage expands the more you breathe through your nose, which gotten way easier. And now it's like I'm not even going to consider the surgery anymore.
For sure.
And that was just one of those benefits where I was like, man, this is so awesome. I can avoid that. Not fix my nose, but it's workable now. I use it all the
Right.
time. Like it's just so much better.
No, I definitely get that. And
Yeah.
that was actually something I've noticed as well, even a couple of weeks in, where I'm still, I get to that point where I've gotten so used to mouth breathing that it's still part of like my regular schedule, my regular, like what I'm doing in my day to day life. But just like in little ways, I'm starting to see my body kind of acclimate to nose breathing and just kind of getting used to that becoming the default. Which is definitely nice because it gets to a point where I can be a little more mindful about it. And it's just kind of like one aspect helping the other, where nightly I'm kind of forcing my body to utilize the system that it's really designed to be used in the first place. And then in my waking hours, just kind of being mindful of that. Yeah, you should be doing that. And it's kind of these things are one hand washing the other, where one is assisting the other, and the other one overnight is helping to train the morning routine. And I'm definitely starting to notice that as well. Just kind of in my day to day waking hours, being more used to nose breathing and getting used to just kind of utilizing that system properly.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's funny how like the good night's sleep, it's just it starts like a snowball. It starts an avalanche basically, like all this sort of stuff. Like you said, right? Like taping your mouth shut at night then leads into you breathing better during the day, which then leads into all this other stuff. Right? Like you're not going to be as dehydrated because now you're breathing through your nose, so your body's not like sucking moisture to sending it to your mouth. So then you just
Mm-hmm.
have more energy throughout the day, and it just starts rolling and rolling and rolling, and it just takes off. I know for myself, like I always wanted to like exercise, but sometimes coming home from work, you'd be exhausted. When you get a good night's sleep, you get home from work, you're still well rested, and you're like, all right, let's go exercise, or let's take the time to prep that meal versus getting takeout. Right? It's just these little things where it just starts this snowball effect of health benefits. It's so awesome. It's so crazy.
That was literally me today after, for my job. And I was talking to somebody at the job the other day, actually. I get on the freeway, and when I'm going home, I get this one exit. And if I take that exit and take a left, it's 1.5 miles to the gym. I can get that workout in. But ordinarily, I get that exit, I make the right, and I go home. And I'm either getting home tired from work, and, man, I'm just going to go home. And today I got to that point of like, you know what? I just did a workout routine for somebody who asked me for a little bit of help with some gym stuff, and sitting there looking at this thing, you know what? Like, I'm feeling pretty good. Like, let's do it. So got up and went and crushed the workout and really just kind of feeling great. And I'm like, well,
dude,
okay.
Let's go.
Hey, so if anything, seeing this whole mouth taping thing become a catalyst for just kind of positive lifestyle changes, things that I was doing in the past or knew that I should have been doing, and now I'm in a place where, it's not like it's this, one trick pony, like fix everything in one shot, but seeing the benefits of getting good rest and seeing how that in and of itself becomes a greater catalyst for these, positive personal changes, lifestyle changes. Like, that's definitely been something that's been very cool, especially the last couple of weeks.
That's so cool. That's so awesome. There it is right there. Like, yeah, it's just that feeling of like, man, I'm back in the driver's seat. I'm back in control. I'm getting a good night's sleep. Now let's go make a change everywhere else. Like, hit the gym. That's really cool how you have like the right is one way, the left is one way, and you take the right, or whichever one it was, but you turn to go down to take the gym. It's almost like that path of good sleep one way, bad sleep one way, right?
Yeah.
That's really cool. That's really cool how it works out like that. That's
for sure,
awesome.
Man. Yeah,
what about at work? Have you noticed more energy at work? Noticed more productivity? Have your coworkers said anything? How's that? I know you said you start early, so
if nothing else,
yeah. What have you noticed at work?
Right. I've definitely, like, when I first get in, again, like I said, I'm not a morning person. Even waking up in the mornings consistently, I'm not really active and alert typically first thing in the morning when I first get in. And especially over the last week or so, after I had about a week to kind of get acclimated to the whole, taping my mouth shut at night thing, definitely coming into work and feeling a little more tied in, feeling a little more ready to go, being a little bit more just kind of alert and awake and just generally ready to take on whatever challenges are coming that day, as opposed to having to like really need that first hour and a half to kind of slow roll and get going.
Yeah.
So definitely seeing those benefits, to the extent that I started telling other my coworkers about it. And one of my cooks is
so cool.
Father of like 3, another one who does martial arts and is involved in movies, and he was actually just filming a movie, and I was talking about how his nose is all jacked up from fighting and from everything else, and how he's having with the trouble breathing. Hey man, well, not for nothing, but I've actually been doing this whole mouth taping thing at night. There's this company called Hostage Tape that puts this stuff out, and I'm really seeing some really cool benefits about it. And they were like, really? And yeah, man, like, dude, if you want to know more, I can send you a link to it. Like, oh yeah, sure, I'm gonna take you up on that. I mean, I'm definitely more of a skeptic. I definitely want evidence and I want data, and I want to be able to verify something before I start, talking about it more. But man, even personally, anecdotally, I am sold. Like, I'm telling people, like, bro, I've been doing this thing and I'm in. I can't tell you, I'm not going to tell you everything that everybody else is saying is true, but here's the stuff that I've been doing and here's the results that I've been seeing. So like, you can take my word for it.
Absolutely. And that's like the thing, right? Like, it sounds crazy. It's like, hey, there's this company that, makes stuff to tape your mouth shut. It just sounds so crazy. But then when you're like, look, whatever else aside, here's what I've noticed. And when it's personal, like, that's what really hits home. And that's what we're trying to do here. There's so many people who, like yourself at first, where it's like, that's not real. That's not a real thing. This is just a gimmick. It's a hack, right? It's just crazy. But if we're just trying to build this just undeniable platform of testimonials where it's like, you might think this is crazy, but look at all these stories. Look at all these people that this has changed their life. This has like started them on a path that's just there's no end to it in terms of like their health and everything, their relationships, their job, like all that sort of stuff. So this is kind of our goal behind this, exactly like you said, right? It's just, here's what works for me, and then just get that undeniable proof out there. So that's really cool. That's really awesome.
For sure, man. And my thing is, listen, it's like anything else. Here's my anecdotal evidence. Here's my experience. It may not work for everybody. You may not see the same exact kind of results that I did. I'm not a doctor, or I'm not somebody who really knows a lot about physiology or sleep science or anything like that. But as somebody who snores like a lumberjack and somebody who was getting some really crappy sleep for a very long time, for me personally, to see these kinds of benefits in such a relatively short amount of time, like, that's got to be worth something. And my thing is, listen, man, try it. If it doesn't work, hey, it doesn't work. But at least you got a funny story about that one time you tried that crazy mouth taping thing. But on the flip side, maybe you try it and you see these really, really fantastic benefits that I've been experiencing as well. And if it does, more power to you, man. Welcome to the club. I feel like there's really not a huge like risk to reward ratio there. Either worst case scenario, you pick this thing up and it doesn't work and you never buy it again and you're out, what is it, $25 for the 30-day? And even then it's a money back guarantee for the first 30 days. So it's not even like you're out all of that. So really at that point, there really isn't anything to lose. It's really as good of a win-win as you can get.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, well, Daniel, I just wanted to, I'll finish this up just by saying, like, thank you so much for this. This was really cool. The energy that I felt in the Facebook post is exactly what I thought I would get in this testimonial. It's just so awesome. Really cool to hear your story. And I mean, I know it's only a short amount of time, but I'm just pumped I'm pumped for you for like the next year, as you're just like meditating more, and as you get like, start taking that turn to the gym more. Like, I'm just pumped for it. I know for myself, like it just started this avalanche of health stuff, which is just greatly impacting my life. So I'm excited for you, and I just want to say thank you so much for this. We really appreciate it.
For sure, man. Happy to help. I'm glad to be on board.
Awesome. All right. Thanks very
All right,
much.
man.